Good morning. Good morning. My Facebook and Instagram family. What do we have here? We have a line in here somewhere. Oh, no. Okay. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you guys for coming on board to another episode of Back to the World. My brother and my sister's keeper. I'm Tony, and thank you guys for coming on board. Any music that you may hear must be the birds, because there's nothing playing in the background. But nevertheless, any music that's played on our episodes, we don't own the rights to. So I also like to give a shout out to my TikTok, my YouTube family as well. Thank you guys for coming on, and welcome aboard. Right? We're going to kind of give a few others a chance to come on board. But in the meantime, while we're doing that, we're going to do our PSIs, okay? And first, I introduce to you our Botana oil for beards and skin moisturizing. That's Botana oil for beards and skin moisturizing, okay? Man, this is a remarkable product. I'm telling you, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm not advertising it right, man, but it's selling. But many of you see it on your Facebook and Instagram pages, man. This is an excellent, this is a perfect product. But many of the products that you're seeing, Amazon, Walmart, what have you, they're not 100% raw from Honduras. A lot of that product has been sold over to China, and China is cutting it with whatever type of, chemical or oil or whatever it may be. But ours is 100% pure, right? And to be perfectly honest with you, man, I'm going to go so far as to say it's hyperallergenic. I haven't had anyone complain about any skin irritations or what have you. It has a faint coffee smell, and that's pretty much it, right? And you can use it somewhat in a wax form, and then you can use it again if you soften it, by just putting a little heat on it. And it will liquefy like this and turn to an oil. Okay? Dr. Sibi recommended it, man, and just about everything that he's recommended and talked about, let me tell you, he's been right on point with it. Okay? Inbox us right here at my page, Back to the World, Billionaires Roundtable Conference, Sonetquity Book Club, or Tony Ford. Alright? DM me on any one of those platforms and purchase your Botana oil. Okay? Man, it's wonderful. We also do what's called a drop shipping program. With our drop shipping program, what we've done, we found a way to monetize it and a way for all of our members to earn an income if they like. Okay, for every product that you sell, every product that you market on your page and people purchase it from there, you get $3 of the sale. See, they will mail the money directly to you. They will send their orders directly to you. And then after deducting your $3, you will forward everything else to us, and we will do the drop shipping. We will pay for the postage. Okay? Now, if you want to start your own franchise, you want to start your own business, which is affiliate marketing, then you register your name, you get your DBA, you get your DBL, your LLC, start your own company, get your own brand, and we will supply you the Botana oil, of course, at a cost. All right? DM us to discuss all of those terms. We'll be happy, more than happy to discuss those terms with you guys. All right? So this is one thing that we're doing to try and circulate income back into our community. Every mile is started by a step. So we're trying to regenerate funds back into our community, and we're starting one bottle of Botana oil, a jar at a time. Okay? Next, join our book club, Sonetquity Book Club. Go to our page on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, and YouTube, and join our book club. If you're an avid reader and you purchase your monthly books, purchase your books from us. All right? Our page is www our page, our store, our link is www.bookshop.org/shop/Sonetquity. Okay? bookshop.org/shop/Sonetquity. We have all genres of books. We're kind of low on hood books, on your urban novels, but we're getting ready to get another distributor as well, and we will have those books as well. We have audio books, and we have audio books, and we have Braille. Okay, so and ebooks. All right, and we also have board games, stuffed animals, greeting cards, and what have you. So when you say you want to shop at a black businessman, we are a black business, not just for 28 days in a year. We're a black business 365 days, every day, 24 hours a day. And you can shop with us 24 hours a day. All right? Now, once we get our roster, let me just say this. Once we get our roster and we get our membership up to a certain number, which I don't care to mention at this particular time, we get our own Medicare imprint, right? And this is very important why I say that, because what I'm getting ready to talk about, Social Security and how the government is trying to end it, right? And we're going to need means and ways to take care of ourselves once we reach 65 and over. Get ready to talk about that. And they're trying to cut into Medicare. They're trying to cut out Medicare and Medicaid. Well, I don't think that they have the numbers in order to do it. The Democrats are challenging it. But what they are talking about doing is charging you a 20% fee for all of your needs, or whatever the situation may be. In other words, whatever it is that you would need, that you would normally have gotten for free under Medicare, you will now have to pay at least 20%. Okay, that's what we get ready to talk about. So, anyway, fasten your seatbelts. We're not going to be long, man. But go to our bookstore, purchase your book, and as we come on in the future, in the very short, near future, we're going to be talking about the wealth building platform for Sonetquity Book Club. Okay? Thank you, guys. All right? So I'm going to fire up, and I'm going to get started. Hope we don't have too many interruptions today with the phone ringing, man, but you know how that is. It's live, man. I don't have a production team, and everyone says that I should get one. Well, you know, that's their opinion. So, hope you had a great day yesterday. And as I said, we're going to talk about Social Security and Medicare, all right, and the future of it. I don't know how many of you know, because many of us don't like the news. And then when we watch, and many of us watch the news, we don't want to hear some of the bad and gory stuff. So we'll change the channel before anything comes on that's dealing with economics and the world, and we miss it, right? So let me give you a little backstory. The President of the United States is basically saying that he wants to do away with Social Security, because he says that Social Security is nothing but a scam. Right? Elon Musk is the one that's telling him how he should dismantle it, and he's calling it a Ponzi scheme. Okay? Now, let me be the first to say, If you've been watching my videos for years, or if if you've been watching them for years, you will know that I have long since called Social Security. I give you an example of it being a pyramid scheme, not a pyramid scam, right? I never called it a Ponzi scheme because let's be clear. Let me give you a little history and tell you and share with you what a Ponzi scheme is. Excuse me. See, Ponzi was a gentleman in Boston, Massachusetts, that structured his business model as a pyramid scheme, right? In order to orchestrate a scam. So now, pyramid scheme, there's nothing illegal about it. Scheme is just the structure, the schematics of how it works, how it matriculates. That's basically what a scheme is. Anything that happens in sequences, colors, or a certain rhythm or what have you is considered a scheme. Okay? So, pyramid just happens to be the structure in which the facility or the platform operates. Doesn't make it illegal. Now, when a person uses it for nefarious reasons, then it becomes a pyramid scam. So Ponzi was a guy that used it. And in 1928 or 29, they named that particular scam a Ponzi scheme. All right? And how that worked. What's the difference between a Ponzi scheme? All right? First of all, it's a scam. It's been designated a scam. Ponzi was selling U.S. stamps, postal stamps. And Ponzi was making lots of money in the beginning. Ponzi was very, very successful. And people were investing in those stamps. And he was getting a reasonable return. But the government did something to what they're in the process of doing today. They raised the price of stamps, right? And they raised the price exorbitantly until, it had eaten up Ponzi's profits. So he couldn't give the people the same returns that he had been giving them for years. But he had so much of their monies. So what he started to do is not buy any more stamps. Everyone that invests, he will pay them with the old investors' money, right? He will pay them with the new investors' money. He will pay the old investors with the incoming investors' money, and it circulates. Well, what happened? His head got beyond his skis, and he was over his head in water. However you want to give it as a cliche, until he could not make those payments, and Ponzi ended up being charged with fraud, and he went to prison. He died destitute. But Ponzi was trying to do a good thing, and it started off as a good thing, as most pyramid scams as most pyramid scams are. Everybody didn't start that to rape the people. Everybody didn't start that. A lot of people start businesses and everything, and they think that they can raise money, right, without going through the SEC, which is the Security and Exchange Commission. And see, it's a lot of regulations, it's a lot of red tape, it's a lot of law that's involved with procuring investors, right? So you do it somewhat clandestinely, and you do it as an investment club, if you will. And like I said, if 20 or 30 of us got together and decided to come together on a real estate deal, but I'm soliciting, see, this is what makes it illegal. If I tell you that, I make you a promise saying that if you invest so much money in my business, I'm going to promise you a 25% return per year. All right? And we're going to do it in forms of an IOU, promissory note. Well, that somewhat makes that transaction legal. But if it goes to court and you fail, you're going to be charged with operating a Ponzi or a pyramid scheme, because you promised investors a profit that you did not deliver on. Okay? You can't do that. That's number one. And you can't use new investors' money in order to pay old investors. So now, why I said that Social Security was a pyramid scheme, it's definitely a pyramid scheme, and it operates as such. I never called it a scam. I only pointed out the structure of it. You see, because I would have been a fool to say that it's illegal, and here I am, beyond 65 years old, and I'm living off a pension. I'm living off of Social Security, right? The president is out to dismantle it, but I have an end game, and I'm going to tell you what their end game is, and you know, many of us that have reached that age, many of us are relying on this. Many of us that have worked most of our lives and had jobs, we're living on pensions. Those who are fortunate to have a 401k plan, so not only do they get their pension a month, but they have their monies that's been invested, and that money has matured for them in their waning ages, which is a wonderful thing. Well, I didn't have that luxury because all of my finances was taken away from me. You know, so I got to get out here and hunt and kill every day, right? And plus my Social Security. But I'm here to say this. Besides many of your Middle Eastern countries, Northern Africa and what have you, Social Security was one of the best things created by any country to supplement its people. When it was designed with brilliance. Okay? It was designed with brilliance, meaning that in the waning years, most of our population would get older, right? And they would have worked and paid taxes and what have you. And after they retire, they may not have saved a lot of money because wages were low. So you're going to have a lot of homeless and starving people. And when you have that and people can't necessarily pay their bills or they lose their job, it cripples the economy, because now you're taking large chunks of money out of the economy. All right? And we're not as wealthy as Switzerland. We're not as wealthy as many of your Middle Eastern countries, Saudi Arabia and what have you, and Brunei, where Medicare is free, right? All medical is free. People receive a certain amount of money as a allowance per month, and they're able to live and circulate. And see, this is how the government thinks. All the money that it gives them to live and survive, they're going to put it back in circulation anyway. See? So what happens, and what America has done, all the funds that's lodged in the Social Security account at the Federal Reserve, they're doing just what I suggested when I talked to you guys yesterday and said we should start a fund to whereas all the 1.7 trillion dollars that we spend a year, we should invest it. We should place it in an investment fund and let it grow. That's what the government does with the Social Security fund. A lot of things are paid for with that money because, see, they don't have to give out all that money at one time. So the United States is slick. They borrow from that Social Security. All right? They'll take, which is our money, but they'll go in and they'll take our money. They'll give us a safekeeping deposit receipt. In other words, an IOU. And they will take our monies and they will build infrastructures. They'll probably build casinos. They'll build highways, high rises. And all of that is done with the money of Social Security. I can assure you there are many of those casinos in Vegas, right? that was paid for by the Social Security fund. Okay? But when you're the government, man, you can reach across your left hand with your right hand, right? And you can grab shit from behind your back because you are in control of those funds, right? And it's no different from a pension fund, all right? And a pension fund is real huge. And many of the casinos borrow from the pension funds, right? California had one of the largest pension funds, and they built everything out there pretty much with those funds. So now our president, he doesn't like it. So he said that it's no good. It's been a scam, the whole bit. And you see, this is the thinking of a rich man and a rich white man. And see, someone that has never have to live from hand to mouth, they can have something right before them in their face, and they could not understand it because they don't want to understand it. And see, with people such as Donald Trump, when they've been rich most of their lives and they never had poverty, they truly don't understand. They feel like, our country could have more money, or we can be more wealthier if, in fact, we stop giving our money away to lazy, poor, trifling people. That's their feelings. But they don't understand that it's those people that you're calling all these names that's at the lower rung of society. Believe it or not, they're the ones that keeps this economy going. Because everything that trickles down to them, once they get it, it bounces it right back up. Now imagine if they were in a position where everything that was trickled down to them, they just held on to it and they didn't put it back into circulation. Our country would suffer regardless. So you need the underserved. You gotta have it, right? So you've talked to Elon Musk. So now Elon Musk just outright calls it a Ponzi scheme. Now understand, it's designed for people to pay into it when they first start working. If you're 18 years of age and you pay taxes, you pay into the Social Security, right? That's the youngest, I think, 16, right? Then when you get 65, right, you start receiving those funds that were accrued, all right? But everybody's paying into it at that segment. And how that works is this, and I'm going to use it as an example. It's almost like, I think it's 20 years or so. So like those who are 40, the monies that they paid into the system, it will start going out to those who are 65. Those who are 45, it'll start going out to those who are 65. And those who are 25, right? The ones that turn 45, they're going to start getting funds that they paid and accrued. So on and so forth. And it's a cycle, and it's a circle. And everyone gets paid as long as they pay into the Social Security fund, right? So now, it operates that when you say, well, damn, Tone, I thought you said a Ponzi scheme was when you are paying off old investors with new investors' money. Yeah, I did. And you're paying off you're paying off old retirees with new Social Security payees off. That is what it is. But there's an end game and there's a cycle. And like I said, it was the greatest idea ever created. Because nowhere in the world this entire country could have sustained when all of our elderly people reach that age and they can't take care of themselves, right? So that was one of the greatest things that this country ever created, and many countries says that. many countries try to duplicate it. Some has gotten it better because their population is smaller, and their country's economy. No country is higher than ours, pretty much. But what happens is with those countries, they're more disciplined. See, if they had a people that was suffering and doing badly, those people came together and took care of themselves. They took care of one another, along with the government taking care of them. So they didn't have this strain on them. But now, what will happen? This is what they're talking about doing, right? They want to eliminate phones and phone calls from your Social Security offices, right? And they want to relegate everything to be online, where you never have anyone that you can speak with. I can tell you now, man, that's a cluster screw, man. I go through it, man, and nothing raised my hackles, man. Nothing give me hives more so than knowing that I have to go and deal with the Social Security Administration, or I have to deal with Medicare. They'll have you on the phone, man, for 30 and 40 damn near, well, now I say 30 now, they have you on the phone for 1 and 2 hours. Okay? When I first came home and I had to go to the Social Security office, man, I had to get, first of all, I had to, with the driver's license and everything. Whenever you have to deal with the bureaucracy, it's hurry up and wait. Okay? So when I dealt with Social Security, I sat in this place, man, and I looked at all the people. Many of them, how you doing, Evan? All right? Many of them was up in age, and many of them were ill, and they had young people that came with them to help them through the process. So it's very, very crowded all the time, man. Little kids crying as well. I guess single mothers with their kids were there, and this was every day I had to go. And you'd have to get in line, you'd have to pick a number, and then you have to sit and wait for them to call your name, right? And I watched the system and how it works. I watched the numbers as they came off, as they clicked on the little digital deal. And it's almost after each window called 3 people, they would take a break. I'm telling you, I watched this. After each window would call 3 people, they would take a break. And let's say they had 17 windows, but they only had maybe 10 people working. And I got there early in the morning before the doors opened. And I was still kind of far back in the line. So I sat there, man, and I watched. And then what it is, some of them are very, very short. Most of them are very, very short with you. Their people skills aren't up to par, but then there's always some red tapes, and they're always sending you down another lane of the labyrinth. In other words, they're always sending you through a maze. But it's designed for you to get frustrated. It's designed for you to eliminate yourself. And I'm telling you, that's what's happening with this president right now, with a lot of things. And I'm going to get to all those in a minute. But right now, I'm starting with this. So they designed the system. If you call on the phone, you got to stay on long. If you go to visit, you got to sit and wait longer. If you go online, you got to have your, they want you to go online, because if you go online, there's no interaction with anyone live or anyone human, right? So they want you to drop out. Some people get so frustrated that they do. See, because that almost happened to me. I gotten so frustrated, and I'm like, man, hell with Social Security, man. But you see, at my age, I need medical. You may can survive off of whatever monies or income that you're getting, but if it doesn't come with hospitalization and insurance, man, trust me, You know, one visit to the hospital, one night stay, man, can put you in bankruptcy court. All right. Oh, see, when you want to conquer a people or anything in particular, your first goal is to have the people turn against whatever it is that you're trying to do. All right, you will denigrate the people. You will say bad things about the people. You will turn other people against those people. You will turn the population against these individuals. So if it's an organization or a business entity, then you first prove that it doesn't work. You disprove that there's anything good about it. And then people will turn away from it. And then before you know it, it's just left there all alone. Henceforth, what the president was doing with Obamacare. He wanted so badly to get rid of Obamacare, but what were you going to replace it with? The truth of it is, all you were going to do is put another name on it. You was going to probably name it Trump Care. Because there's not too much else that you could have done. And that's why it was so hard and impossible to get rid of. But now back to Social Security. You create dissension. You create chaos. And this is the way, see, emperors operated this way. Donald Trump is not stupid. You know, he's not intelligent, but he's smart. He's smart in the ways of doing big business and trimming the fat and cutting corners and capitalizing on other people's grief and what have you, right? So that's what he's doing with Social Security. So now Musk wants to come in and dismantle it, get rid of all the phone calls. You don't have any phones. You'll be forced to go to the office. Now, if you're elderly and you're 65, man, you know, this is how we use the phone, because most of us don't go to the Social Security office. Now you want us to go there. You want us to handle everything online. Well, if anyone is like me, I'm visually impaired. So after a while, my eyes get tired and I can't pay attention. I can't focus and I can't see what it is to do, and I'm clicking all wrong, the whole bit. That frustrates me still to this day, right? So now nobody's going to the Social Security office. And now you've created the chaos. So when you create it, the people are going to want to look for something better, right? Or something similar. It doesn't have to be better. But they can't create anything better. So what they do, they'll let you experience all the bad times and get so frustrated that anything that comes along, you'll be willing to hang your hat on that rack. Ladies and gentlemen, what the president and Elon Musk are in the process of doing or wanting to do, that is to privatize Social Security. You get it? That's to privatize Social Security. And see, when you privatize something that's a federal program as such, you have access to all the money. You have access to all the money. So let's say Social Security Fund. The Social Security Fund may be, say, $20 or $30 trillion. If you are over these funds, and if you have prioritized, if you've privatized that, right? That means that you have access. And there'll be ways they just wouldn't go in and take monies like that, but they can create all sorts of legal jargon that will allow them to do that and go in and take the money and circulate that money the same way they're circulating the monies for the contributors to the fund. So I told you, they're not stupid. And they're trying to get their hands on the Social Security fund. All right? And if you have to pay 20%, everyone across the board, to Medicare, now they're going to have another slush fund. You know? I'm not giving you anything, man, that I heard or whatever the situation may be, man. But it's right there in our face. This is what they're doing. You would never, because, excuse me, even they know that if they dismantle and cut out Social Security, this country is going to collapse. There's going to be blood in the streets and all of that, but this country will collapse. Because you have so many people that are making it on only Social Security, right? Oh, they're doing a sleight of hand trick. They call it the 52 fake out, and that's what they're doing. So all of you out there that's listening, if you're listening, man, if you're 65, approaching 65, or if it's over, man, stay in touch with it. Try to do some other things. As I said, we have Sonetquity wealth building program, man. Many of you are going to have to come our way, and we're going to have to hunker down, and we're going to have to come together, and we're going to have to take care of ourselves. Now, what they're doing, what they want to do with Social Security, is the same thing that we're talking about doing with the $1.7 trillion that black folk places back into the economy. But you see, as an investment company, Ariel is not going to take our money and do all sorts of frivolous things with it. That 10% earned per year is going to be allocated for different projects to fund black colleges, black communities, black housing, black businesses, black health care. And we're not saying just because it's called black that only black people are going to benefit from it. We're not saying that. But that's who will build the infrastructure. And see, when you say that, white folks say, well, what if we said, white company, white business, white? Well, you don't have to say it. Your actions show it. And they always say actions speak far louder than words. We can build the black community and build a black business right now. And it can be flourishing. We would not complain not 1 second, man, if whites and other Hispanics or other nationalities come into our community and shout. We wouldn't have any problem with that. And to be honest with you, we wouldn't have a problem with whites moving in our community instead of bombarding and rushing to it, and then now it becomes a free for all, and it turns into gentrification. See, because as I said again, if one moves in a community where the demographics and the analysis are, every home is anywhere between $150,000 to $195,000. Well, once they come in and they renovate or they build or rebuild, now their house is $400,000. Now all the rest of the taxes go up. And instead of calling it an exercise, I call it taxicized, because now you're taxicized straight up out of the community because you can't afford the house, and your house was paid for, but you can't afford to pay those annual taxes because now they're comparing your house to a $400,000, $500,000 house. You see, now if you had a family that was to come in and all they did was just give the house on the inside, man, they just modernize it and give it all the bells and whistles on the inside, but they They don't add more square footage. They don't add a whole bunch of other things that are special and everything that would be on a house in River Oaks, Beverly Hills, Nantucket, Buckhead, Star Island. The minute you start building that way, man, you'd have changed the whole dynamics of the community. And it becomes the proverbial tail wagging the dog. Because the one house is going to be the reason and the cause all other houses have to suffer. Right? Oh. That's what's getting ready to happen there. And with Medicare, this would be Trump, one way Trump would get rid of affordable health care. So he would have gotten his wish another way of dismantling Obamacare. Because it would change under those guises. You know, he would not, it's all right, let me show you something. He's renovating it. See, it's not like he's moving in and Medicare is the house that's there right now. Obamacare is the house that's there right now. Well, once he gets in, he's not gonna tear it down and then put his house there. Nah, what he's going to do, he's going to change some rooms, the color, the lawn, a fence, or whatever around it, and he's going to charge 20%. So there's a difference, but nevertheless, it's changed. It's changed. The minute they change one thing about it, the whole process changes. You got to pay 20% now. So now when you go to the doctor and you give him your Medicare card or what have you, he's going to tell you what you got to do. And if you can't pay that 20%, guys, you know, you crap out of luck. I'm gonna tell you, hey, you know, we can't service you here. You got to go to another hospital, man. That's crazy. You know, now they're treating it like I remember when I was a kid, man. Every hospital anywhere would take you in, man. You know, we called. It wasn't trauma, like it wasn't anything dealing with trauma, like you got shot, stabbed, you had a wreck, any other type of injury, you had a great fall or whatever. But if you just had illnesses, sicknesses, the whole bit, you could be riding around, man, and your stomach is really aching you, man, and you're falling over. You can just pull over at the nearest hospital, right? And at that time, man, they would have to see you. Gone are those days, right? Oh, that's what the president is up to. Now here's the last thing, and then we're gonna freestyle. These people are slick, man. Like I told you, they're not so much intelligent as they are smart. You know, and even Elon Musk himself, you know, I think he's more dastardly than brilliant. And there's a difference. I can understand that to a degree. I don't want to go into that right now. But most of his investments he made, man, they turned over in spite of he was just invested in companies that someone else was running and operating, and it earned him a hefty profit, right? Even with Steve Jobs, right? Even with Steve Jobs wasn't the smartest of their partnership. Just as Bill Gates wasn't the smartest in his, right? Bill Gates wasn't the smartest in his circle. Paul Allen was. Steve Wozniak was with Steve Jobs. But these guys had an energy. They wasn't as ruthless, and they aren't as dastardly as Elon Musk, right? And I think that's part of the fact that he was born and raised in foreign country. And, you know, in most of those countries, man, they don't hide their feelings. They don't hide their intent. So I think that he's got over here and got Americanized a little bit. But even when he did the German salute, right? That tells you what's on the forefront of his mind and how he thinks and how he functions. And see, and he's thinking about tearing down infrastructures to rebuild them, as I said again, now calling it your own, right? So you do a lot of shit by cloak and dagger, about bait and switch, and about doing dastardly deeds and misleading the people. So now what they're doing is this. It's already you're having a problem, and you're placing tariffs on our neighbors, those that align with the top of us, and those that are aligned with the bottom. Right? Just a second, y'all. Sorry about that. You see, it doesn't matter. So you're causing friction with our neighbors, our greatest allies. They're all of a part, because what do they call this? They call this North America, right? So now, you were doing this thing where you were kicking all of the illegal aliens out of the country, right? Here's the thing. You had those that had applied and had received appointments dated, right? You canceled and you cut that out. So now there are no appointments. So now all those people that had gone through the process, and as long as they had a date on which they were going to meet with immigration, you have forced their hand. You put them in a situation now where they can be gaffled up by ICE or what have you and shipped out of this country. You've created that, right? So now here's the next rub, because see, this not happening fast enough. And I shared this idea with some friends, and I told them this is the way you can get around and you can skirt the law when you're trying to do certain things. And I'm gonna get at it in a minute. So now, the one saving grace that these people had was the fact that they had already gotten a date and had an appointment set for them. Now you're taking that away from them. So when you take that away from them, this is what you're telling the people now. This is what you're telling everybody. All of you, you know who you are. And if you're here illegally, you know, we're gonna lock you up, and then we're gonna ship you out of this country. So people are running scared. So now you come back, and this is how you give ice cream to those that aren't in the know. You say, hey, look, if many of you would just leave voluntarily, if you would leave voluntarily, then maybe in the future at some point you can come back. You can come back, and then you can, you know, start the legal process. You're doing that in hopes that a lot of people, and you sent it out over email, you had an app and everything else, and you're hoping that a lot of the people are just gonna throw themselves on their knives, on their own knives, and they're gonna say, hey, look, I'm illegal, I'm gonna go. But many of these people, they hadn't thought about leaving, they hadn't planned to leave. They had went by the law, and they had obtained a date. And now you're asking these people to voluntarily go catch a plane and go to some foreign country or some country that they've left and they don't have any connection to anymore. This is what you're asking all of these individuals to do. But here's the irony of that. And this is what you're not telling them. What you're not telling them is this. If they leave voluntarily, they're subjected to the same things as those that you're arrested and shipped out of the country. They just can't turn around and come back. They have no records of it. It's over. You dismantled the program. That's a horrible thing to do. That's a horrible thing to do, and that's what you're doing. It's sad. That is horrible, man. But I was telling some friends this, the same scenario. I was telling them, if you owned a nightclub and you were a person that was vertically challenged a bit, you're somewhat short, and you owned the nightclub, and there were tall people coming all the time, the whole bit. A lot of tall people coming to your club, taking up a lot of space in the whole 9 yards, and you just don't like tall people coming to your club. So you hang out a sign saying no tall people. Nobody knows what tall is, because if you're measuring you, everybody's taller than you. So let's say you say nobody's 7 feet or whatever. No, nobody 6'5" can come in my club, right? Well, first of all, that's a lawsuit, because you're discriminating against a particular class. You can't do that, right? But if it's someone that bothers you, man, and you're an angry person and you're devious and you think, and that's truly, truly bothering you, that's a pet peeve of yours, and you want to do it and you want to get around the law, right? I used to ask my class, how do you get around it? You know how you get around it? You lower the roof to 6 feet. If it bothers you that much and you want to get around the law, that means that no one above 6 feet will be comfortable in your club unless they're coming in bent over or walking on their knees. And there's nothing that the government or your city, county, or state, municipal, can do anything about it. Because it's in the privacy of your own property. You can do anything you want. So that's what they're doing. They will eliminate the amnesty type deal or the registration. Now these people that has an appointment, see, by all intent and purposes, this is what they're playing on, right? They're mincing words. They aren't legal yet. So now you destroy that which has them in limbo. So now they're definitely not legal. And you want them to march themselves out of the country. This is what dastardly people does, right? And this is the trick that they're playing. And it's not over, man. They got something in store for everyone. And see, Trump is stupid. This is why he's moving forward and back, and playing chicken with the tariffs and everything. Unless things don't get too jammed up, he's going to come back around. He's going to try to implement something and make it look like he championed it. That's business. You disrupt things and you cause chaos, and then you show that you coming back to fix everything. But there are some relationships you'll never fix. And like I told a friend of mine the other day, see, a lot of things Trump's doing, a lot of people in power like it. They just didn't have the guts or the courage or whatever to do it. Or they wasn't uncouth. So he doesn't care. And most people that are wealthy, man, they don't know how poor people suffer. They don't know. I told you I lived in a dorm with 3 other guys in college. Every last one of them were wealthy. Every last one of them were wealthy. And they were from different places around the United States. But actually it was four. And all four of them, two were foreigners. And one lived on the East Coast and one lived on the West. But even though they were raised in different demographics, they all came from the same environment. And they spoke the wealthy's universal language. And they understood one another. So I had to sit there and learn them, and I watched. Their parents didn't spend money frivolously. Even though they were wealthy, they struggled in college. You know, they wasn't getting new shit, this, that, and the third. Only one of us in that dorm was actually living a higher privileged life in college. And that was the great-great-great-grandson of Haile Selassie. He ran track. He even had bodyguards. You know? So, and he was a black man. Is a black man. Right? Oh. That was a lesson in and of itself. But I watched and I learned. And they were so enamored with me because I was relentless. I had to go to the mess hall. I had to go to the kitchen and work. And I would smuggle food back after hours. Man, they were starving. Let me tell you, they looked like they were homeless. When I came back with those rations, man, they were grabbing all over one another, trying to grab the food the whole bit. Till one night they smoked weed, I didn't. And we sat back, man, we had the longest conversations, man. And they had heard so many things about black people and black communities. They had been misled. They had a bunch of stories that was contorted. And I woke them up to a lot of things. I proved to them that we as a people, we're not bad people to live amongst, bad people to be around. All of us aren't dumb. Many of us understand. I think that my intelligence quota was equal to or surpassed yours. I just think that your experiences and your travel was much broader than mine. So you've seen more. You can talk about more. That's why I read a lot. So I can kind of keep up and understand what it is that you guys are saying. I didn't know what exile was. I didn't know what a tete-a-tete was. I didn't know what a coup de grace was. I didn't know what any of these things were. You know, I didn't know anything about government and dictatorship. I didn't understand any of that. I learned this from talking to these people. I didn't know what a family trust was. I didn't know what a corporation was. And I'm talking in the 70s, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't know what any of these things, got a wasp. I didn't know what any of these things were. My greatest education, my greatest lesson came in those dorms at night. Everything that they taught me, everything that I absorbed, everything that I learned within my 2 years upstate. The second most confounding education, I'm just being honest, my second was prison. Because coming from New Orleans and going to New York, I dealt with culture shock. Right? I dealt with culture shock, and I had to look, listen, and pay attention. The next time I had such a learning and such an education was when I was convicted and sentenced to 4 life sentences in a federal penitentiary. Max, super max. And I learned so much from the lifestyle, the mentality, and things that were there. And see, it wasn't that I was now the one that was better than these individuals, but the truth of it is, I had seen far more. I had experienced so much more. I lived a different lifestyle, and they didn't understand it. I understood the way the world worked at that particular time, and many of them didn't. Nor did they care. So you have to live amongst a people, and you have to be reserved, because you have your beliefs, you have your understanding, you have your knowledge, and you're in a place where none of that matters. And the majority of the people there has never experienced what you've experienced, and nor do they care. And you have to know when to talk about it and when to shut up about it, because you can become a victim. I told some guys in the cigar lounge the other day that when it came to sports and everything, nobody knew what team I enjoyed, what team I liked. Because if you let people know that, there's a saying that goes, you never let your enemy know where your goat is tied. So that means that you never let persons know where your interest lies. Because they will harangue you, they will ride you, they will assault you. Gambling was one of the quickest things to get killed. Rooting for a different team. That a guy that felt like he ran everything, if you didn't side with him and you rooted against him, now you are an enemy. And sometimes these guys just looking for shit to crash out. So you have to know how to move like this. You couldn't be here and you couldn't be there. You had to be somewhere here. And then not just here. You had to be moving like this. And I had to be that way every day. And some days you just don't feel like it. But your survival depended upon it. And I'm just saying, college was in a different place. The players were different. But the learning curves were the same. The learning curves were the same. And as an old man, don't let anybody tell you that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I learned a bunch of new tricks there. I learned a bunch of stuff. I learned more so about my elderly self than I did when I was younger. Right? So, you know, it's amazing. So, I hope that I've enlightened you a little on Social Security and Medicare, and with the evacuations of immigrants from this country and how they're going about doing it. And like I said, man, you know, that's what you do when you want to take over something. You make it look like and appear to be worthless. And then as soon as you get rid of it, you say, hey, you know what? I can come back and I can fix it. But there's a lot of politicians on the Democratic side as well. They agree with Trump. They agree with him. So even if they said this morning he's a lame duck president, unless the Constitution's changed. Don't you think that if he has that at his reach, at his beck and call, he's not going to change that? And maybe you didn't hear it here first, But they're going to try and do January 6th, 2020 again. But it's going to be different. When he controls both the House, the Senate, and the presidency, come on, guys. It's a blank check. So now he's not, and then he has Elon Musk. That's going to shuffle the votes. And I think that's what he did when the president ran against Kamala. I think he shuffled the votes. And he was so confident, so cured, all the way since day one. And that's usually how things work. Good morning, good morning. All right. That's usually how things work. So, fasten your seatbelts. We're getting ready to be in for a bumpy ride. Did anybody come on this morning? Well, I couldn't see y'all. I apologize. There. So, just about finished with my cigar here. And thank you guys for coming on board, sharing this hour plus with me. And again, man, we want you guys to join our book club. And see, we have to start doing things for ourselves. And we have to counter what's being done towards us as a people. All my brothers and my sisters out there, man. I'm talking about all of our leaders of our communities, and all the ones who have the voices, Reverend Al Sharpton, my homeboy, Mr. Ron Busby, Mr. John Hope Bryant, Dr. Umar, Dr. Umar Johnson, Dr. Boyce Watkins, Brother David Whitehead, all of our other influencers and what have you. I watch some of these influencers, man, these guys. See, I can't do it. I've never been a step and fetch it, and I've never been full of buffoonery. And I get embarrassed sometimes when I listen to some of the podcasts that these guys are talking about women and talking about themselves. And I heard one guy saying how he loved women that's so fine and so this and so that. And he said, man, no homo sapien. Like when they say no Diddy or pause. He was talking about how fine women are, how he loved his women and what he liked about them and the whole 9 yards. But in between, he said no homo sapien. So these are the guys, man, that are on social media, man, that people are paying to watch. And these outlets, man, are giving these guys money to toxify our minds, man. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I look at it, man, I just shake my head, because I know what I could do if I'm being paid 10 and 15 and $20 million a year just to come on here and do what I'm doing, do what I'm telling you now. But if I have to be a goofball and a whole bit, I don't think I could do it. I can't think of enough stupid shit to say and to tell you. And I look at these guys, man, they wear all the jewelry, they go out and they buy all the cars, and it's like this, right? Out of 365 days, 365 shows that they may have, that's 365 hours of bullshit. If you take everything that they say that's positive, that you can get something from, and take it home, because as they said, a broke clock is right 2 times a day. These guys might say something that's fulfilling about maybe 30 minutes a month. 30 minutes a month. So that's 1 minute a day. They may have said something. And that may have been good morning. You know, that may have been good morning or whatever. They may have said something to the Most High, concerning the Most High. And that's it. I don't want to call no names, man. I'm telling you, I'm tempted, man, but I'm telling you, they're all on bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing positive. They've run out of things to talk about, and now they just talk about shit that they talk about absurdity. They talk about insanity. They talk about craziness. And these people are paying these people millions and millions of dollars. You got one little kid, man. He hasn't lived long at all, man. He's young, man. I'm talking about all my kids are older than him. I got grandkids that's right behind him. But see, it's the population. And these people love him. They love this guy, right? And he makes $60 million a year. He's getting paid $60 million. Good God Almighty. You know what I could do with $60 million? You know how many people I can help? You know how many things I can start? You know how much more I could talk about on here? You know? It wouldn't be so much asking you for anything. It would be the giving. It would be the building. I would say, you know what? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to start this program. And I want you guys, everybody that believe in it, I want you to follow up. I don't have $60 million, but I have a $60 billion plan. So Sonetquity Publishing Company could definitely easily be worth 60 billion, 100 billion. Easily. Because this country is forcing us to come together. This country is forcing us to come together. Right? And at some point or another, we're going to wake up. And we're going to do it. And we'll be a success as a people. Once again. Before I go, another thing. One of the same guy that said no Homo sapien, he didn't know what he meant. Thought he was mean. He thought he was talking about, nothing gay. What he's saying, he's not a man. He's not a man that's attracted to women when he said that. Well, he said something else, and what was it? Gosh, it slipped my train of thought. The guy's an idiot, man. The guy's an idiot, and like I said, I can't think of some of the dumb shit people say. And this guy's on a podcast, and these are the things that he's saying. It'll come to me. But it's the absurdity of it all. Sometimes you watch for content, and every now and then at night you'll stumble across this type of madness. Oh, I know what he said. He's talking about women. He's talking about that. He'll date. He don't necessarily date black women, but if he date a black woman, she has to be of a certain status about her business, about her game. She has to look a certain way. She has to carry herself a certain way. But he said he'll date a lower level white woman or Hispanic or some other race. He said, because all those other races, they know how to treat a man because their race is older than ours. Our race is new. He said our race is new, so we don't understand like all those older races, and all our women aren't like that, right? So, when he date a black woman, she has to be a queen. But he'll date a peasant of another race. And he's saying that our race is young. Man, this guy doesn't know any history. He doesn't know that our race is the oldest. He doesn't know that everyone else comes from our race. This is the kind of shit, man, that's on social media, YouTube, and what have you, all these other platforms. And people are buying into this shit. And everybody that was sitting there, they're shaking their head. Yeah, you're right. They understand, Everybody is an expert on the interaction between men and women of all races. Everybody on here now is an expert. Let me tell you something. There's not one manual that comes with marriage. And I take that back. It could be the Bible. It could be the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah. But even they have differences. So there's no one size fit all when it comes to marriage and relationship. There's no one size fit all, ladies and gentlemen. You may be in a house, you may be in a homestead where the wife is the breadwinner, and you're the one that's taking care of the family. You're the one that had to learn how to cook if you didn't already know how to cook, if you guys want to sustain. But you're not complaining about it. That's the role that you've taken. You may be better at raising the kids. Of course, we know that she's better at having them, right? But you're nurturing them as well. Okay? When she comes home, she may be busy, she may still have to work. And you're taking care of everything. You may be in a relationship with a wife, know more about cars. And she's the one that's handling and maintaining the cars. Doing a lot of the homework, the home duties around the house. Fixing the appliances. Maybe a situation where neither one of y'all are any good at any of that. And y'all take turns doing it and bitch all the way. But you love each other after you get finished doing it. You may get two people that get married that don't love each other. But there's a light there. And they feel a necessity there. And that marriage may last for 50 years. There's no book on this shit, y'all. I know you hear many stories where girls say, well, at first I didn't like him, but then he grew on me. All right? You have a certain feeling about guys, men and women having sex on the first date. And you might call her a thought, call her a whore. But yet that guy married that woman. And their marriage lasts for 40 or 50 years. And she never see another guy. She never cheats on this guy. Anything. And then we talk about a person raised in a two-parent family. And the father and mother was together for 45 years. And this person saw the love between his mother and his father. And you felt like they set a good example for that son, a daughter. But yet when they get of age, man, all of that goes out the window. They don't care anything about that. The daughter sleeping around, the son sleeping around. They don't care about monogamy. So you don't know how this script is going to end. You know how it was written, how it started, but you don't know how it's going to end. And sometimes we hold ourselves to such stringent standards until we're miserable before we even get married. But yet, we're the ones that's going to give marital advice to two people that love each other. Come on, man. You go figure, right? But anyway, I see Sister Rita. Haven't seen you in a while, sister. Thank you for coming on board. Yes, I did. Sister Rita. At any rate, man, thank you guys for coming on board, sharing this hour with me. And, it's Throwback Thursday. You guys go out and have a wonderful day. Peace.